Good evening. It is January 4th, 2011. Can't believe I'm saying that. 2010 went by so quickly. Every year for me just keeps going by more quickly and more quickly. I'm sure some of my older viewers are saying, you know, that you haven't seen anything yet. But hope everybody had a Happy New Year. Very Merry Christmas. If you remember, a year ago I made a video reflecting on 2009 and discussing what I believe we could possibly see in 2010. Remember, 2009 was a year of, that was the first year of the Tea Party. You saw a rise in populism in 2009, activism, but it was still in the early stages. 2010, some of that stuff began to grow. But anyway, what I said in my video blog, I predicted, this wasn't just me, this was a lot of people. People all over the web, and a lot of libertarians were saying some of the same things. But just to recap what I said would likely happen in 2010. I said the internet and alternative media would grow bigger. I said libertarianism would continue to grow. I predicted some inflation, although said that we likely wouldn't see a collapse of the dollar or anything. Gold, when I made that video a year ago, was at $1,150 an ounce. Today it's at about $1,400. Silver was at $17 an ounce. Today's it's over $30. So if you had taken some of that advice a year ago, you'd be sitting in pretty good shape right now. So the economy would continue to be bad. So cap and trade would be one of the big issues of 2010. And that ended up not coming true, largely because of the Copenhagen conference. It was a complete disaster. The whole ClimateGate scandal really threw their plans into disarray. So thank goodness that didn't become a major issue in 2010, but be on guard for that in 2011. The wars, I said, would continue because Barack Obama, after all, is a servant for the military-industrial complex, which President Dwight Eisenhower, Republican President Dwight Eisenhower, courageously warned us about in his 1960 farewell address. And if you haven't seen that, you need to go on YouTube right now and type in Eisenhower farewell address or Eisenhower military-industrial complex, and it will really wake you up to what's going on today and why Obama is pro-war. I said healthcare. I said that the healthcare bill, nobody would like it, everybody would hate it. And I was right in some respects on that. The left doesn't like it. It doesn't live up to their standards. And of course, conservatives and libertarians don't like it either. The left doesn't like it because it's a scam. It was written by insurance companies. It is a corporatist document. It's not your Dennis Kucinich type universal health care. It is a corporatist health care bill, which is what Obama is all about, corporatism. And that doesn't mean, you know, I'm anti-corporate. I support the free market. But Obama is a corporatist because he seeks out special privileges and favors for certain corporations. That's what, I'll get into this in another blog, but that is a typical, a characteristic of fascist governments, this marriage between corporations and government, where corporations write a lot of the laws, write the regulations to keep small guys out. So anyway, what happened in 2010? Well, the metals went up. TSA was a huge story. And really, like, I haven't responded on that since my video blog on the TSA. We won that battle. The TSA stood down and shut down all the naked body scanners and stopped groping people. So we won that battle, but the media reported opt-out. They said it was a failure. It wasn't a success. The only reason why it was a success is because they shut down the darn machines. So that was a big thing. Homeland Security got more powerful in 2010. Libertarianism, like I predicted, began to explode in 2010. We now have Judge Andrew Napolitano have his own daily show on Fox Business. It's at 8 o'clock. If you don't get Fox Business, you can YouTube all of his shows. They're on there. Ron Paul won the CPAC convention. I'm hoping he'll win CPAC again in February of this year. So libertarianism's on the rise. Alternative media is on the rise. In fact, it was the alternative media on the internet that really spurred on this TSA story led by Infowars and Drudge Report, so that was really huge. The WikiLeaks thing was a big 2010 story. And no matter what you think about Julian Assange, I've heard a whole lot of things about him, we have to protect his right to free speech. Now, I haven't commented on this on my blog yet, but we have to protect his right to free speech, even if he is, I've heard some people say he might be working for the government. I've heard other people say he's a terrorist, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I do know he has a right to free speech. I do know the Supreme Court in the 1970s ruled that Daniel Ellsberg, the leaker of the Pentagon Papers, could not be fined or put in jail because it's not illegal to publish leaked documents, it's illegal to leak them. And Daniel Ellsberg did not leak the documents, neither did Julian Assange. Julian Assange, we have to protect his right to free speech, because if we don't protect his right to publish what he wants on the internet, that means guys like me can't publish what I want on YouTube, or people like you can't publish what you want on YouTube or your blogs. The economy, of course, didn't do bad, or has continued to do poorly. And the 2010 elections, victory for the Tea Party, I would say, all in all. There were a few disappointments. But so that was 2010. I would say 2009, like I said, was a year of activism, populism. A lot of people were getting excited for the first time about politics. 2010, I just sense this uneasiness in the air. It's like people... Far more than in 2009, it's like people just know something dirty is going on or something's about to go down, but they can't quite say it. There's a definite uneasiness in the air. Revolution is in the air. That's what they used to say. 2011, what's going to happen? I have no idea. I mean, I do have an idea, but I mean, what I'm about to say might not come true, like the cap and trade thing, right? Like I said, that was going to be a really, really big issue in 2010. It ended up not being one. First of all, the euro. I think that's going to be one of the big stories of 2011. We could very well see a collapse of the euro in 2011. We might not. I just have that feeling. I really do. I feel it. I think we're going to see Spain go down, Portugal, Italy, all these, the pigs countries, they call them. The euro is definitely on the verge of collapsing. And between the euro and the euro, in my view and many others' view, is more likely to collapse first. So if you see the euro collapse, you better get out of the dollar right away and don't even hesitate. I think Europe is going to be bad. Civil unrest is going to rise in Europe, even more so than in 2010. Of course, in 2010 we had riots in London. We had riots in Dublin, Athens. I think 2011 we're going to see even more civil unrest in Europe. And I really hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about all of these predictions. I mean, if a year from now when I make my 2012 video, I really hope I can look back at this and report and say, man, I'm so glad that I was wrong. Like, I really, really hope I can say that. Civil unrest in the United States. It didn't happen in 2010. It is a possibility in 2011, especially if things get worse. Could we see a collapse of the dollar in 2011? I don't know. It could happen, but it might not. Well, I mean, these things are very hard to predict. I know in the long run, all these fiat paper monies don't stand a chance. In the short run, it's hard to predict. But I do know this. Gold and silver will go up in 2011. Because we will have some inflation. If we don't have high amounts of inflation, we'll at least have a little bit, right? Like, because Ben Bernanke is printing all this money or digitally creating it. Same difference. His goal is inflation, and anytime there's inflation, people always flock to real money, which is gold and silver. Don't wait on this stuff. Go again. If you listen to me last year, or if you listen to Ron Paul and Peter Schiff last year, you'd be making out pretty well. Silver is almost double what it was when I made my blog last year. I could see gold possibly going up to $2,000. I could see silver hitting $50 an ounce. You can't wait on this stuff. It's really foolish to keep waiting. All commodities you can see go up. Food prices will likely rise. Gasoline will likely rise. We can see $4 to $5 gallon gas. Man, I hate this stuff. I think radicalism is going to be on the rise in 2011 as the economy gets worse. Both the good radicalism and the bad radicalism. When you hear radicalism, a lot of times you think of Marxism and Leninism and fascism and all the. That's the bad radicalism, and I'm scared of that too because you have a lot of leftists out there who are so anti-free market. They hold on to this government dogma that the free market is bad. They just can't accept, even when there's so much evidence that government planning has failed. And there is. Keynesianism was a big loser in 2010. Despite all of this evidence, they cannot bring it to themselves to say that the free market is the way to go because of this dogma. So what do? They want to go push it even further and further and further. And they'll go all the way to communism if they have to, as long as they can avoid admitting that the free market works. Despite all the evidence, we had a huge industrial revolution with a free market and no central bank. There was no central bank between 1836 and 1913, and that was our most prosperous era as far as progress goes. And standard of living rose substantially between 1836 and 1913. It was one of the most prosperous times in the United States history. The most free market, no central bank, none of that stuff. But the left can't bring themselves to admit that. So they got to just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. What I would like to see, and what I am seeing, is a rise in the good kind of radicalism. Because remember, guys like Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, even guys, a lot of our founders, they were radicals. We don't see them like that today. And some of the people actually see them as conservative, and they're not. They were very radical, but they were radicals for liberty. There's a big difference. See, the communists and the fascists and all those clowns, they're radicals for statism, for the coercive state. And that is a disaster. Every time the coercive state, a radical coercive state, always leads to deaths of millions. It is a very, very dangerous ideology. But radicalism in the name of liberty is very positive. And if you're a viewer and you're more moderate in belief, don't be afraid to explore some of the more radical libertarian ideas or radical free market ideas, because that's what we need. Barry Goldwater in 1964, when the media attacked him for being an extremist, some of you may have heard this quote before. I might not have it down exactly, but he said something to the effect of, extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And remember that. That's really important. Extremism in a defense of liberty is no vice. So you got to be extreme in defense of liberty, because that's all we have. Humanity has been enslaved by coercive states for thousands of years. It dates back to the Pharaohs, Caesar, Napoleon, the Roman, Nero, the Roman emperors. And now George Bush and Barack Obama. I mean, historically, humanity has lived under coercive, tyrannical states. We have to return to a constitution. Man. Federal Reserve is going to become a lot more controversial. More people are going to be talking about it, especially with Ron Paul and the Republican primaries. And the Republican primaries is absolutely huge. We need to nominate someone who can intellectually defend liberty, who can intellectually defend small government. Not these Sarah Palin and Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry types who talk in sound bites. We need someone, and in my view, it's Ron Paul. Ron Paul is the modern Thomas Jefferson. You got to go on YouTube. If you haven't seen Ron Paul do you got to look at his speeches. Go on YouTube. Look at the 2007 Republican primary debates. But if someone else comes up and impresses me like that, I'll support him or her just as much. So it doesn't have to be Ron Paul, but Ron Paul's the only one I see at this point. But he's going to be talking about the Fed. It's going to become a bigger controversy in 2011 as inflation goes up. And mark my words, and save this video blog, the media, the corporate media, range from MSNBC to CNN to Fox News, will viciously attack Ron Paul. They cannot have Ron Paul win. They cannot have someone who's opposed to the Fed and the military-industrial complex take the White House. And then finally, just wrap it up real quick. I think I got about 10 seconds. we're coming in on the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. Look for more debate about that. I'll get into that into a later blog. I mean, that's a whole nother topic right there, but it has to be spoken of, and so I promise I'll make a blog on that later. Anyway, Happy New Year. I know this wasn't a happy blog, but I do my best. Everybody take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.